In the forgotten dawn of human imagination, before gods claimed the heavens and mortals shaped the earth, terrifying beings ruled the shadows, creatures born not of nature, but of fear, chaos, and cosmic mystery. Tonight, we uncover when monsters ruled, the origin of mythic demons, a journey into the world's earliest nightmares. From ancient civilizations carving warnings into stone, to whispered legends of spirits that fed on human dread, these primal forces shaped the myths we still tell today. Prepare to step beyond history and into the abyss of creation itself, where demons weren't just legends, they were rulers. When monsters ruled, the origin of mythic demons. Mesopotamia, Tiamat and the birth of demons. In the cradle of civilization, between the winding arms of the Tigris and Euphrates, ancient Mesopotamia told one of humanity's oldest stories of cosmic beginnings. This was a place where flood-shaped kingdoms, where clay tablets captured memories older than empires, and where myth served as a bridge between the visible world and the unseen. Among its mythic tales, none was more foundational, dramatic, or influential than the story of Tiamat, the primordial mother whose monstrous children shaped early conceptions of chaos, demons, and divine conflict. Her legacy stretches across millennia, reaching into Babylonian ritual practice, influencing later demonologies, and forming the roots of how ancient peoples understood the presence of dark forces in the world. This is the story of how Mesopotamia imagined the birth of demons, not as simple evil spirits, but as ancient beings born from cosmic chaos itself. 1. The primordial sea, Tiamat before the gods. Long before cities like Uruk and Babylon rose from the dust, the universe was envisioned as an endless, undifferentiated sea. This sea existed in two forms united as one: Apsu, the sweet fresh water beneath the earth, and Tiamat, the salty ocean above and around it. Tiamat was not merely a goddess, she was the living embodiment of the chaotic deep from which all things emerge. There was no sky, no land, no stars, only the mingling waters of Apsu and Tiamat. When these waters stirred, creation began. From their union came the first generation of gods, Lamu and Lahamu, then Anshar and Kishar, and eventually the great sky god Anu and the storm-bearing Enlil. At first, Tiamat was gentle, an ancient mother who nurtured the younger gods. She represented the natural world's unpredictable but life-sustaining forces, the sea that both nourished and destroyed, the storms that helped crops grow but could also wipe out entire settlements. She was not initially evil nor monstrous, she was simply primordial. But creation is never peaceful for long in Mesopotamian myth. As the younger gods grew in power and number, they became noisy and chaotic, disturbing the deep, eternal calm of Apsu. The ancient god grew weary of their racket and plotted to destroy them. When the younger gods discovered his plan, they acted first, killing Apsu and shattering the ancient balance. And with that act, the first seeds of conflict were planted in the waters of Tiamat. 2. Tiamat transformed, from mother to monster. Apsu's death changed Tiamat. The serene mother of creation became filled with grief, rage, and a sense of betrayal. The new gods had not only disrupted the ancient order, they had killed her companion, the very force with whom she had shaped the universe. This moment marks one of the oldest literary transformations in world mythology, the metamorphosis of a creator deity into a manifestation of chaos and destruction. Tiamat, grieving and enraged, began to give birth once more, but this time, not to gods of order or creation. Instead, she created monstrous beings to avenge the death of Apsu. These were the first Mesopotamian demons, embodiments of chaos that existed before concepts of morality or evil. They were weapons, born for war. The Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, lists these terrifying creations. Massive serpents with bodies armored like dragons. Vicious storm demons with wings and claws. Lion dragons and venom-spitting reptiles. Scorpion men. The ferocious fishman Kalulu. The raging bullman Kusariku. Each creature embodied natural dangers, venom, storms, desert heat, deep water, disease. They were not evil yet, they were the violent forces of nature given shape. To lead these monstrous legions, Tiamat elevated Kingu, a god of lesser rank who became her champion and consort. She gave him the Tablet of Destinies, a cosmic artifact that granted its holder supreme authority over the universe. With this, Tiamat's army threatened to overturn the divine order entirely. The stage was set for one of mythology's most defining battles: Chaos versus Order, Primordial Mother versus Ambitious New Gods. 3. The Rise of Marduk, Order confronts Chaos. The younger gods panicked when they saw the scale and power of Tiamat's demonic army. None wanted to face her fury. It was in this crisis that a new hero emerged: Marduk, a young storm god from Babylon whose rise would shape the spiritual identity of an empire. Marduk agreed to fight Tiamat, but only under one condition: the gods must grant him supreme kingship if he triumphed. Desperate and terrified, they agreed. Armed with hurricane winds, a bow, a spear, and a net woven of storm clouds, Marduk confronted Tiamat. The clash between them was not just physical, it was symbolic. Tiamat represented the ancient eternal waters, the unknowable chaos before creation. Marduk represented the new age of structured order, kingship, and civilization. In the epic confrontation, Marduk ensnared Tiamat in his net and used his storm winds to force her jaws open. With a single arrow, he pierced her heart. Her monstrous children screamed across the battlefield, their chaotic forms dissolving or being bound in chains. Marduk seized the Tablet of Destinies from Kingu, cementing his victory. What came next would shape Mesopotamian cosmology forever. For creation from chaos, the world born from a goddess's body. After slaying Tiamat, Marduk did not discard her remains. Instead, he used her colossal body to create the structure of the cosmos. Her ribs became the vault of the sky. Her tail became the Milky Way. Her blood and spit formed the rivers. Her body became land, hills, and mountains. Her eyes became the sources of the Tigris and Euphrates. The world, according to Babylonian belief, literally rested on the corpse of chaos. Creation was not a gentle act, it was a victory carved from the body of a monster. Tiamat's slain children, the first demons, were bound, imprisoned, or forced into servitude. Kingu met an even harsher fate. Marduk executed him, and from Kingu's blood mixed with clay, the gods created humans. Thus, humanity itself was born from the blood of a rebel and the dust of the earth. This origin explained why humans were flawed, chaotic, and prone to error. They inherited the essence of a defeated opponent of the gods. Yet, they were also necessary. Humans existed to take on the labor that the gods no longer wished to perform. Ritual, worship, farming, construction, these became the duties of Kingu's descendants. 5. The demons that survived: servants, spirits, and monsters. Tiamat's monstrous creations did not vanish from Mesopotamian religion. Instead, they evolved into gods, demons, and hybrid spirits that became essential to Mesopotamian ritual and myth. The Apkallu and Fishmen. Some of the Fishman beings, like Kalulu, became part of Mesopotamian protective lore. Their images were carved on amulets and palace walls to guard against evil. Scorpion men. The terrifying Akrabuamelu, scorpion men, became guardians of holy places such as the gates of the sun god Shamash. Though born from chaos, they became protectors. Umu Dabrutu and storm demons. Some storm spirits created by Tiamat retained their destructive potential. They were invoked in incantations as forces responsible for disease, fever, or storms, often needing to be expelled through ritual. Lamashtu, Pazuzu, and the later demonology. Although not directly Tiamat's children in myth, Mesopotamian demons like Lamashtu, a child-killing female demon, and Pazuzu, the wind demon who fought her, inherited the legacy of Tiamat's chaos. They represented uncontrolled forces that required ritual appeasement. In daily life, Mesopotamians believed these demons wandered the world, especially at night, in deserts, near abandoned ruins, and in sickness. Physicians and priests were trained to recognize which demon caused a particular disaster and use incantations to drive them out. The idea that demons emerged from the earliest age of chaos gave them cosmic legitimacy. They were not mere ghosts but remnants of primordial creation. 6. Tiamat's symbolic legacy: chaos, womanhood, and the deep. Tiamat's defeat became a powerful symbol within Babylonian religion. She represented the ancient world before order, the chaotic forces that preceded civilization. Yet, she was not merely an antagonist. In the oldest layers of myth, she was a life-giver. Her transformation into a monster likely reflects the rise of patriarchal city-states where storm gods replaced older mother goddesses. Scholars see Tiamat not as an embodiment of pure evil but as a representation of forces beyond human control: storm, ocean, darkness, creation, and destruction. She becomes monstrous only when challenged. Without Apsu's death, she might have remained a primordial mother. Even in death, her presence continued. The Babylonians viewed the sea, the chaotic saltwater beyond the known world, as Tiamat's lingering essence. Storms at sea, floods, and other natural disasters were reminders of her power. 7. The birth of demons as a cosmic memory. So how does Tiamat's war connect to the Mesopotamian understanding of demons? 1. Demons were primordial. Unlike later religions where demons are fallen angels or evil spirits, Mesopotamian demons were older than humanity. They belonged to chaos, existing before the world was shaped into order. 2. Demons embodied nature's dangers. Each of Tiamat's children represented a threat: venom, storms, darkness, deserts, floodwaters. Demons were not moral enemies of the gods, they were expressions of dangers inherent in the world. 3. Demons could be both harmful and protective. Some demons attacked humans, others defended them. Because they came from chaos, they possessed neutrality. Ritual determined whether they helped or harmed. For humanity was linked to the chaos powers. Since humans were made from Kingu's blood, they shared something of the rebellious, chaotic nature of the primordial beings. This explained why people sinned, became sick, or lost control. The chaos within them resonated with the chaos embodied by demons. 5. Order must constantly be maintained. The god's victory over Tiamat was not final. The world, built from her body, was always threatening to fall back into chaos. This is why rituals, offerings, and incantations were crucial. They were reenactments of the god's victory, maintaining the thin barrier between order and the abyss. 8. Legacy in later cultures. Tiamat's myth did not vanish with the end of Mesopotamia. Echoes of her story appear across cultures. The Hebrew Bible's sea monsters, Leviathan and Rahab, resemble Tiamat greatly. Greek mythology's Typhon and Echidna parallel the monstrous offspring of chaos. Later demonologies borrow imagery from Mesopotamian hybrids, winged beasts, lion dragons, scorpion guardians, and storm spirits. Through these influences, Tiamat can be seen as one of the earliest ancestors of Western demonology, shaping how later societies imagined primordial evil and monstrous beings. Tiamat's enduring power. Tiamat's story is not simply about a slain monster. It is a blueprint for how ancient Mesopotamians viewed the universe, a constant struggle between order and chaos, structure and wildness, civilization and nature. Her monstrous children were not villains but necessary reminders that the world contains forces that humans cannot fully control. The birth of demons from Tiamat's grief shows a profound ancient truth: chaos always gives rise to complexity. Demons were not intrusions into a perfect world, they were fundamental to its construction. They symbolized the dangers, fears, and mysteries that shaped human existence. Egypt, Apep and the Serpent of Eternal Night. Long before the pyramids rose, before Osiris became lord of the underworld, before the pharaohs claimed the throne of divine kingship, the ancient Egyptians imagined the universe as a fragile realm balanced between order and chaos. At the center of this cosmic tension was a single terrifying entity, Apep, also called Apophis, the great serpent of primordial darkness. To the Egyptians, Apep was not just a monster. He was the very embodiment of Isfet, disorder, destruction, and the unmaking of the world. If Egyptian mythology is a story of balance between light and darkness, order and chaos, creation and destruction, then Apep is the ever-lurking threat that makes that balance necessary. His presence transforms every sunrise into a victory and every sunset into a moment of uncertainty. Through him, the Egyptians explained not only the mysteries of nature but the struggle of existence itself. This is the story of Apep, the serpent of eternal night, what he was, what he represented, how he threatened the cosmos, and how gods and humans alike fought to keep him at bay. The origin of Apep, born from chaos. Many Egyptian deities have genealogies, temples, or myths that explain their origins. Apep does not. He has no parents, no lineage, no temple of worship. He is simply there, a timeless force. According to Egyptian cosmology, before creation, the universe was a churning, snake-filled ocean known as Nun. From this void, the first mound of land rose, and the creator god, Atum, Ra, or Pata depending on the system, began shaping the world. Apep, however, was not formed by the creator. Instead, he was a remnant of the old darkness, an ancient being who existed before order, before time, before the sun itself. His body, imagined as an enormous serpent stretching for miles, symbolized infinite chaos coiled against the fragile structure of creation. While the gods made the universe, Apep waited in the void, biding his time for the moment he could swallow what they had built. Because he was not born, he could not truly die. Apep was, in every sense, eternal. 2. Apep versus Ra, the cosmic war. Every day in Egyptian belief, the sun god Ra sailed across the sky in his solar bark, bringing light to the world. Every night, Ra descended below the horizon and traveled through the underworld, Duat, to be reborn at dawn. And every night, Apep ambushed him. The Egyptians believed that the greatest threat to existence occurred not in mythic ages but every single night, when Apep attempted to devour Ra's sunboat and plunge the cosmos back into darkness. This nightly encounter was not metaphorical. To the Egyptian mind, it was real, an ongoing cosmic battle constantly replayed to ensure the survival of the world. Without Ra's victory, light would never return, crops would fail, the Nile would stagnate, and life would cease. Apep's attacks on the sunboat. The myths describe several terrifying ways Apep tried to destroy Ra. 1. Hypnotic mesmerism. Apep's gaze could paralyze even gods. Many stories say the serpent immobilized the crew of the sunboat, causing cosmic storms or eclipses when his power grew too strong. 2. Swallowing the waters of the Nile. Some texts describe Apep drinking entire portions of the underworld's river, creating darkness and drought. 3. Coiling around the solar bark. In many depictions, Apep wraps himself around the sun boat like an enormous constrictor, trying to crush the vessel. 4. Unleashing demonic minions. Apep was sometimes aided by smaller serpents, demon spirits, or manifestations of chaos that attacked Ra's defenders. 3. The defenders of the sun. Ra did not travel alone. The sun boat had its own divine war party. 1. Set, the unexpected protector. Ironically, the god Set, later demonized in some periods, was once the heroic defender of Ra during the nightly voyage. Armed with a great spear, Set stood at the prow of the sun boat, ready to strike Apep's head. This role revealed something fundamental about Egyptian thought. Even gods associated with violence and disorder had a place in preserving the cosmic balance. 2. Isis, Neith, and Serket. Several goddesses with protective powers recited spells that weakened Apep's coils. Isis, the goddess of magic, was especially important. Her incantations immobilized the serpent and strengthened Ra's light. 3. The Mayhen serpent. Mayhen was another serpent deity, but unlike Apep, he coiled protectively around the sun god. The Egyptians believed not all serpents were evil, some defended against chaos rather than causing it. 4. Ra's priests and human allies. Egyptian priests reenacted Ra's nightly battle through rituals. They created wax effigies of Apep, spat on them, trampled them, and burned them while reciting books of overthrowing Apep. These rituals helped weaken the cosmic serpent so Ra could triumph. To the Egyptians, mythology and ritual were intertwined. The gods needed human cooperation, and humans needed divine protection. For Apep's nature, what he represents. Apep is more than a monster. He is a symbol, a cosmic principle. 1. Isfet, the antithesis of Ma'at. Ma'at is harmony, justice, truth, and order. Pharaohs claimed they upheld Ma'at to prevent the world from falling into chaos. Apep is the force opposing all of that. He is Isfet, injustice, confusion, darkness, and annihilation. While other Egyptian monsters could be appeased, controlled, or transformed, Apep could not. He was not a deity with worshippers. He was chaos incarnate. 2. The dark side of nature. Apep personified natural phenomena that terrified ancient people. Solar eclipses, when Apep swallowed the sun. Earthquakes, Apep thrashing in the underworld. Storms and blackouts. Unpredictable floods. Famines caused by disrupted sunlight. Every frightening event became part of Apep's mythic influence. 3. The psychological symbol. Apep also embodied the inner darkness that humans struggled with. Fear. Anger. Disharmony. The breakdown of order in society. For the Egyptians, these internal struggles were spiritual illnesses caused by the influence of Apep's chaotic energy. Maintaining Ma'at within oneself helped repel his influence. V. The rituals of destruction, how humans fought Apep. Apep's defeat was not automatic. Egyptians believed the god could only be restrained with constant effort. This belief resulted in a complex system of rituals and spells. 1. The Book of Overthrowing Apep. This was a priestly manual filled with instructions on how to destroy representations of Apep. It included rituals such as drawing Apep on papyrus and stabbing the drawing, spitting on his effigy to disgrace him, burning wax models of the serpent, trampling and smashing clay serpents, performing incantations to bind his body and cut him into pieces. These rituals were performed daily, especially during times of political instability, when the threat of chaos felt real. 2. Royal involvement. Pharaohs saw themselves as earthly manifestations of Ra. They were expected to crush Apep metaphorically by maintaining justice, building temples, defeating foreign enemies, and enforcing social harmony. When a pharaoh was strong and effective, the world prospered and Ra triumphed. When a pharaoh was weak or the land faced turmoil, the Egyptians believed Apep's shadow had grown. 3. Ordinary people's protections. Even everyday Egyptians wore amulets that represented protective snakes, solar symbols, and spells to guard against Apep's influence during dreams or illness. 6. The myths of Apep's defeat. Though Apep was defeated nightly, some myths describe dramatic victories. 1. The Great Decapitation. In one ancient story, Set leaps from the sun boat and decapitates Apep. Yet the serpent reassembles itself, symbolizing that chaos can be diminished but never fully destroyed. 2. The Net of Ra. Another myth says Ra casts a divine net woven from sunlight and magic. Apep becomes entangled, and the gods hack him apart. 3. Apep's banishing by Isis. Some stories say Apep attempted to attack Ra by disguising himself or tricking the gods, but Isis exposed his lies and forced him back into the abyss. Despite these victories, Apep always returns. His immortality emphasizes the Egyptian worldview. Order must be actively maintained. Chaos always threatens to return. 7. Why a serpent? Symbolism of the snake in Egypt. Snakes had a complicated role in Egypt. They were both feared and revered. The cobra, for example, was a symbol of royal power. The Urias serpent on a pharaoh's crown protected the king by spitting fire at enemies. But Apep represented the terrifying side of serpents. Their silent movement. Their ability to strike without warning. Their connection to the underworld. Their shedding of skin, symbolizing rebirth or deception. Apep was not just a serpent, he was the ultimate serpent, large enough to swallow the sun, eternal enough to challenge the gods. His form communicated both natural fear and metaphysical dread. 8. Apep in the afterlife, the threat to souls. Apep did not only attack the sun. Egyptian funerary texts suggest he also targeted human souls traveling through the underworld. If souls failed their trials or lacked proper protection, they could be swallowed by the great serpent, lost forever in darkness. Spells from the Book of the Dead invoked Ra's light to shield the deceased from Apep's mouth. Death, like night, was a journey through danger. Apep lurked at every threshold. 9. Cosmic philosophy, Apep and the meaning of darkness. Apep's mythology reveals the philosophical depth of Egyptian thought. Many ancient cultures have stories of monsters defeated once and for all. Egypt did not. To them, the universe was not permanently saved, it was maintained. Apep is essential not because he is evil, but because his presence gives meaning to order. Without darkness, light cannot triumph. Without chaos, harmony has no value. Without danger, the gods have no purpose. Apep is the shadow that makes the sun significant. X. The eternal night. What if Apep wins? Egyptian texts rarely describe what would happen if Apep were to succeed. But the implications are clear. The sun would never rise. The universe would collapse into primordial waters. Time would cease. All gods except the oldest creator might die. All life would dissolve back into chaos. Apep's victory would undo creation itself, returning everything to the timeless darkness that existed before the world. The Egyptians believed this ultimate catastrophe would almost, but never quite, happen. Ra's victories, though temporary, were enough to keep the world going. 11. Apep in later periods and beyond. As Egypt changed over millennia, Apep remained consistently feared. Even in the Greco-Roman era, he continued appearing in magical texts, sometimes merging with foreign chaos creatures. His influence can be seen in later serpent demons of Middle Eastern lore, medieval depictions of the Leviathan, and modern storytelling that draws on primordial chaos motifs. Today, Apep is one of the most recognized Egyptian mythological beings, feared not because he is evil, but because he represents the collapse of the known world. Apep, the serpent of eternal night. Apep is one of the most profound symbols in ancient myth. He represents the idea that chaos is not an enemy that can be destroyed, but a force that must be confronted indefinitely. The Egyptians understood this truth intuitively. Their world was beautiful, but fragile, held together only by the continuous triumph of light over darkness, order over chaos, meaning over meaninglessness. In Apep, they captured the essence of fear, not a monster lurking in the distance, but the ever-present possibility that everything could fall apart. And in their nightly recitation of Ra's victory, they captured hope. No matter how large the serpent grows, the sun rises again. Greece, Typhon and the terror of the gods. In the pantheon of Greek mythology, no creature embodied pure, world-shattering terror more than Typhon, the monstrous father of all monsters, the final weapon hurled by primordial forces against the Olympian gods. His story is not just a tale of divine warfare but an account of cosmic balance, the clash between the old order of the Titans and the rising power of Zeus, between chaos and structure, between the primeval earth and the sky that claimed dominion above it. Typhon's myth stands out because it is not a distant story of symbolic conflict, it is a terrifying confrontation in which the gods themselves tremble, flee, and nearly die. The monster's arrival marks the moment when Olympus itself teeters on the edge of annihilation. 1. The world before Typhon, a realm built on conflict. To understand Typhon's rise, we must look backward to the divine world that existed before him. Greek mythology is layered like sediment, each age of gods struggling violently against the one before it. First came Chaos, then Gaia, Earth, Tartarus, and Eros. Gaia birthed Uranus, the sky, and their union created the Titans, powerful beings who ruled long before the Olympians. Uranus feared his children's strength and cast some of them down into Tartarus. This act ignited the first great war of the cosmos. Gaia, furious at her husband's tyranny, forged a sickle and gave it to her Titan son, Cronus, who attacked Uranus and seized power. But Cronus, fearing a prophecy that one of his own children would overthrow him, swallowed each one the moment they were born. His wife, Rhea, hid their youngest son, Zeus, who later freed his siblings and led the Olympians in the Titanomachy, the 10-year war that ended with the Titans overthrown and imprisoned. But although Zeus emerged victorious, Gaia did not accept this new order so easily. The Titans were her children, and the imprisonment of so many of them in Tartarus reopened the old wound of her conflict with Uranus. This tension would culminate in one final, apocalyptic rebellion. 2. The birth of Typhon, Gaia's ultimate weapon. Enraged at the downfall of her Titan children, Gaia sought a being powerful enough to challenge Zeus himself. She mated with Tartarus, the abyss, the deepest and most cursed region of the cosmos. From this fearsome union came Typhon, the most colossal, horrific, apocalyptic monster ever imagined in Greek myth. Ancient poets describe him with nightmarish vividness. His body towered to the stars. 100 serpent heads erupted from his shoulders. His eyes blazed with fire. His voice was a cacophony of roars, hisses, and monstrous cries. From his waist downward, coils of snakes writhed in endless knots. When he moved, mountains shook. When he breathed, flames rolled across the land. Typhon was not merely a monster, he was the embodiment of primordial chaos. He represented the raw, untamed power of the earth rising against the sky. To Gaia, he was the perfect avenger. But Typhon was not alone. His mate, Echidna, the half-serpent mother of monsters, would later give birth to creatures like Cerberus, the Chimera, the Hydra, and the Sphinx, echoes of Typhon's legacy left scattered across Greek myth. Still, none of these horrors rivaled the cataclysm Typhon himself would unleash. 3. The invasion of Olympus, when the gods trembled. Typhon did not emerge quietly. His arrival was felt across the world, storms erupted without warning, mountains burst open, and the sky split with thunder not made by Zeus. Hesiod describes Typhon advancing like a living natural disaster. The Olympians panic. What makes Typhon's story different from many other heroic myths is that the gods lose their composure. When they see Typhon approaching, his size blotting out the horizon and his serpent arms coiling over the land, they flee. Yes, flee. The Olympian gods, who had defeated the Titans and established cosmic rule, are described as running in terror to Egypt, disguising themselves as animals to hide. Apollo as a hawk. Artemis as a cat. Dionysus as a goat. Hera as a cow. Aphrodite as a fish. Only Zeus stands his ground. But even Zeus, king of the gods, feels the enormity of the threat. Typhon's assault is unstoppable, and the earth itself reacts to his rage. Trees burst into flames, winds roar with unnatural fury, and volcanic fire tears from the ground. Typhon is not just a monster, he is a force of nature breaking loose. For Zeus versus Typhon, the battle for the cosmos. The conflict between Zeus and Typhon is one of the greatest mythic battles in all of Greek lore, a cosmic duel, thunder versus flame, sky versus earth. The first clash. Zeus attacks first, unleashing bolt after bolt of lightning. The blasts shake the world, carving craters into the mountains and boiling rivers into steam. Typhon roars back with winds so violent that they hurl entire forests into the sky. His many voices scream, hiss, and howl in unison, sending shockwaves through the heavens. Typhon proves shockingly powerful. He tears up whole mountains and hurls them at Zeus. He burns the earth with his fiery breath. He wraps Zeus in coils that tighten with the strength of earthquakes. And in a stunning turn of events, Typhon wins the first battle. Zeus is overthrown. In some versions of the myth, Typhon overpowers Zeus completely, knocks the thunderbolt from his hand, and tears out Zeus's sinews, the divine tendons that give him strength. He hides them away in a cave, guarded by the dragon Delphine. This moment is critical. It is one of the few stories in which the king of the gods is brought to the brink of total defeat. Without his sinews, Zeus is powerless. Olympus is on the verge of collapse. The gods hide once more, afraid that the age of Zeus has ended. 5. The Great Escape and Return of Zeus. But the gods are not entirely helpless. Hermes, the messenger god, and Pan, the wild god of nature, locate the hiding place of Zeus's sinews. They sneak past Delphine, steal back the tendons, and restore Zeus to full strength. This is the turning point. Fueled by rage and armed again with his thunderbolts, Zeus rises to reclaim the cosmos. 6. The final battle, mountains war against the sky. The rematch between Zeus and Typhon is even more violent than their first clash. They fight across the entire Mediterranean world. They destroy forests in Thrace. They shatter mountains in Phrygia. They split seas near Cyprus. They burn the plains of Syria. Zeus hurls lightning with such force that the ground melts into rivers of glass. Typhon retaliates by tearing up entire mountain ranges and heaving them into the sky. Some myths say that when Typhon fled, he crossed the land where Mount Etna now stands. Zeus slammed the mountain down on top of him, imprisoning him beneath its weight. Typhon's prison. Buried under Mount Etna, Typhon thrashes and screams, causing volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and fiery storms. For the ancient Greeks, the rumbling of Etna was Typhon himself, still alive, struggling to break free. He became the mythological explanation for one of the Mediterranean's most volatile volcanic regions. Thus ended Gaia's final rebellion. 7. Symbolic meaning, what Typhon represents. Typhon's myth is packed with meaning, political, religious, and natural. 1. Chaos versus order. Typhon symbolizes nature at its most violent and untamed. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, wilderness beyond rule. Zeus represents order, civilization, structure, and authority. Their war dramatizes humanity's struggle to control the uncontrollable forces of nature. 2. The last challenge to Zeus's rule. The battle with Typhon is the climax of Zeus's rise to power. After defeating the Titans and the giants, Typhon is the final obstacle. Once Typhon is defeated, Zeus's reign becomes permanent and unchallenged. 3. Natural disaster mythology. Ancient Greeks often used myth to explain natural disasters. Typhon, buried beneath Etna, provides a mythic origin for volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. 4. Cultural memory of ancient cataclysms. Some scholars suggest the Typhon myth may preserve memories of massive volcanic eruptions, violent storms, seismic events across the Aegean. The image of a fire-breathing, mountain-throwing monster fits the violence of natural events that early civilizations would have witnessed. 5. A symbol of the ancient world challenging the new. Typhon can also be read as the last breath of the old, primordial earth gods pushing back against the newer Olympian order. He is Gaia's reminder that the earth existed long before the gods of Olympus. 8. Typhon's legacy, father of monsters. Though imprisoned, Typhon left a permanent mark on Greek mythology through the many monsters he fathered. With Echidna, he produced Cerberus, the three-headed hound of Hades; the Hydra, serpent beast slain by Heracles; the Chimera, lion, goat, serpent hybrid; the Sphinx, riddling guardian of Thebes; Orthrus, Two-headed guard dog. The Colchian dragon, guardian of the golden fleece. Almost every major monster encountered by Greek heroes can be traced back to Typhon. Thus, even though Zeus defeated him, Typhon's influence lived on in every story of danger, courage, and the wild unknown. 9. Interpreting the fear, why Typhon terrified even the gods. Unlike other monstrous beings in Greek mythology, Typhon represents a threat so total that even gods cannot ignore it. Why was Typhon uniquely terrifying? He challenged Zeus directly, not indirectly or symbolically. He nearly won, something almost no being besides the Titans achieved. He was the largest creature ever imagined, bigger than giants, dragons, or beasts. He embodied multiple forms of nature's power, from wind to lava. He struck fear into immortals, revealing the vulnerability of divine beings. In a world built on hierarchy, Typhon proved there could still be rebellion from the very foundations of the earth. 10. Typhon in later culture. Throughout Greek and Roman literature, Typhon remained a symbol of overwhelming catastrophe. Poets compared him to violent storms at sea, volcanic eruptions, raging tempests, monstrous armies. In the Middle Ages, Typhon became one of the inspirations behind depictions of dragons, especially monstrous multi-headed versions. In modern culture, he appears in fantasy novels, video games, films, metal and symphonic music, and comics. He still embodies the terror of nature unleashed, the fear of what lies beneath our feet and beyond our control. 11. Conclusion, Typhon and the terror of the gods. The story of Typhon is more than a myth of monsters, it is the Greek imagination confronting the fragility of the cosmos. The gods, who represent stability and order, are nearly wiped out by a creature born of anger, chaos, and the ancient power of the earth. Typhon represents the deepest fears of ancient humans, the rage of the natural world, the uncertainty of the universe, and the reminder that even gods can tremble. Zeus's victory over Typhon cements the rule of Olympus, but it also leaves behind a permanent scar on the world, the volcanic rumblings of a monster who still shakes the earth in fury. And so our journey into the ancient abyss comes to an end. We've explored a world where monsters once reigned, where mythic demons shaped the fears, beliefs, and cultures of early humanity. But remember, these stories were never just tales. They were warnings, lessons, and echoes of a past we barely understand. If this dive into when monsters ruled, the origin of mythic demons stirred your curiosity, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Join us next time as we unravel more mysteries hidden in myth and memory. Until then, stay curious, stay vigilant, and never stop exploring the unknown.